Due to the sensitive and triggering topics we discuss in this episode, we are including a trigger warning. Please listen with care and reach out to someone you trust if you need to talk.
I'm Megan.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Erica.
And this is the Her Podcast.
Today we are sitting down with Darren Anderson, founder of the Love My Mind initiative. Darren founded Love My Mind after losing his brother Mark to suicide to provide a voice, support, education, and resources to those who struggle with mental health. Darren shares the story of addiction and depression his brother spiraled in, and the hard reality of being a support person and not having any control. He tells us about the failed interventions, the heartache of watching someone so loved lose themselves daily, and the devastating day they realized that Mark was gone. Darren opens up about how he has navigated the trauma of loss, how he manages his own mental health and anxiety, and the amazing work that Love My Mind is doing to support, bring awareness, and connect with key people surrounding the stigmas of mental health.
I think that everybody there was completely, you could have heard a pin drop.
Yeah, it was pretty, I've never told that side of the story though, like from my perspective. In the last 4 years, it's always been kind of from my brother's perspective. So now I'm telling it more from mine, obviously incorporating my brother and then all the good things that Love My Mind has done over the last 4 years. And it's been quite the journey. Like I have to step back a lot of times and really look at what we've done from what started off as a grieving tool to what's turned into kind of a national brand. So,
well, this is really interesting for me because the girls, like Erica and Megan, were both at the Whole Heart Conference.
Yeah.
And able to hear you speak, and they came back and they were like, we need to have Darren on the podcast. Like his message and his foundation and organization and what he's doing. But I actually wasn't at that. And so I didn't get to hear your journey and your story. And I think maybe some of our listeners haven't heard that. So I'd be curious if we could actually kick it off this morning in this podcast and hear a little bit about your story and your journey and some of what you had shared.
Yeah, like it's, I think the more open and honest I can be, because there's so many people struggling that they need to see and hear people like myself who's been involved in so much in our own community from a business standpoint and charitable standpoint that we all are struggling and can be struggling just on different levels.
Yes.
So the more help we can, I guess, evoke and have these conversations. The conversations, I find more and more conversations and connections are the key. And it's like just being in front of the three of you today is, if we help one person from this conversation, then it's perfect.
100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. So tell me a little bit about your journey, your story. What led you to Love Your Mind? And like you sort of alluded to, you've shared your brother's story and his perspective, but now you're sort of, I'm going to say, marrying or intertwining your two stories to sort of share.
Yeah. So with our family, it was like growing up, it was very, I'm going to use the word right now. We're going to, old school. My dad was an NHL hockey player. So he played actually in the 50s with Gordie Howe and all the
greats.
All the greats. Yeah. So
how cool is that?
Yeah, he was born and raised in Regina, and that he was a very big man. He was 6'4", and he was very intimidating too. So growing up was, I'm not going to say it was tough. It was just very, again, it was very old school because we were like, myself and my brother, and then I have a middle sister. We were like the boys though, where we were led to be strong and tough and resilient and not to show a lot of emotion. And I never really did show a lot of emotion. Like I was an athlete. I played college football in the States for a couple of years, and then became a golf pro back at Saskatoon Golf and Country Club. And
holy,
yeah, and then went back to school to get my BCom, and so I always wanted to be a business consultant and help with the growth of businesses and so forth. And where my brother was very outdoorsy like my father. And so they would fish and hunt together. And my brother was very, I always referred him to as like James Dean in the Marlboro Man. He had the Harley, and he unfortunately he was a smoker, but he was kind of like a little bit of that persona, was that tough guy image, but he had a heart of gold. Like, he was that father figure to everyone. He was the big brother, obviously, to me, but he was just a guy that you could rely on and go to, like, in the minus 40s of Saskatchewan winters. And if your car wouldn't start and you were at one of the local establishments, and he would just like boost your car, but then drive you home.
Yeah.
Like, he was just, and he had that infectious laugh. So he always knew when he was in the room and that, and I don't know, he just always wanted to make people feel good and so forth. So, as time moved on, myself and my brother weren't entirely close until we got older.
Okay.
And then he was a businessman as well. So he had his own apparel promotional company for 30 plus years, and it was very, very successful. And so we did a lot of work together, because with my marketing clients, that we just, again, things intertwined. It was always funny because I worked in the hospitality industry. So when I was in school, I worked at the Pad, and then
the Pad.
Yeah.
I have some hazy memories from the Pad.
The Pad.
Is it a pub?
A bar? It was a bar.
Restaurant?
Yeah.
It was a bar.
It was also attached to a pub. There was like two.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe
Sports
Dogs.
Bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember
So
that.
you could
Yeah.
go from one to the other.
Clearly, I only went to the Pat.
which used to actually be used to be the patio of the Pad Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I worked there when I was in school, and that still to this day, actually, on the business side, I met so many people. So on from the networking and connecting side, I wouldn't have changed a thing because of just the people that. It's funny, I always refer to the guys that I would babysit, and now those people have become CEOs and owners and big players in the community. So they're clients of mine now, and it's kind of. I'm like, that's interesting. So I always threaten them that I'm going to write a book, and they're like, I promise I'll be good.
Oh, your dirty little secrets are going to come out.
Yeah. So, and then from the Pat, we opened Bailey's on 8th Street, which was a fun place because it had like great food and a nightlife and that. Like,
I've probably seen you so many times.
I'm like,
Oh, some fun nights at Bailey's too. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you were one of the owners. Okay.
Yeah, I was one of the owners, and I did the design, and then my last project was Cut Steakhouse downtown. across from Hudson's. Yeah.
We just went for dinner.
That's so fun. I never knew that. Any of
I know.
that.
That's kind
so
of
funny.
my little hidden secret. So, but I was very involved with the hospitality industry, the golf industry. Meanwhile, with myself and my brother, in the 2010, 2012, kind of things started to change in our family. My brother and myself both got divorced. We were married, obviously, and then my dad developed Alzheimer's,
Okay.
which is a horrible disease.
Yes.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
So am I.
It's just very tough to see the deterioration, the disconnect, like they're gone, but they're not. Mm-hmm. And
Did they catch it early?
do you know what? It was interesting because, again, it was one of those things that wasn't really talked about, and wasn't really, there wasn't not a lot of education around it. So we just kind of like, it was this cognitive, just like he was like losing his memory and so forth. And
Old age, air
Yeah,
quotes, right? During that
exactly.
time period, possibly, is what people were calling it.
yeah, so we just chalked it up to that, but obviously like paid a lot of attention to it. Then we got him tested, and that's when we were led like down that path of what was happening, and we really had to focus on not only dad but mom, because she was the caregiver, right? So mom was 24/7. Sherry, my middle sister, she was kind of the one that was forgotten about. So dad didn't really remember her, so that hit her hard.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And my brother was in denial.
Yeah.
I think it was because him and dad were so close in that he just didn't understand it. He didn't want to understand it. And with myself and Dad, I was kind of, for whatever reason, I was kind of the calming influence. Like, I would come over, and if he was distracted or frustrated, I somehow was able to calm him. We would do puzzles, and I'd tell stories, and there was no frustration level when the stories started to repeat themselves. Then Dad had a stroke in 2015, and the stroke combated the Alzheimer's, and basically he forgot how to swallow.
Yeah.
So then they determined, like, well, this is what we can do, and they were basically going to manifest food in through tubes. And I said, well, I looked at Mom, I said, this isn't quality of life. He wouldn't want this. So we just kind of like implemented the do not resuscitate, and then kind of let God sort it out, really.
Yeah.
And the one thing in that was Mark didn't accept it. Therefore, he didn't go up and see him. And I had the conversation with Mark about, you're going to regret this. You're going to look back even though he just couldn't see him in that state.
Yeah.
I said, honestly, you need to go see him, even if it's for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
He never did. Dad passed. And immediately we saw the spiraling effect for Mark.
Yeah.
The drinking increased. His business would start to suffer because I knew a lot of his clients, and I started to have conversations with them, and it was very evident that something was wrong. But again, we all have our lives, and he was that guy. He was a drinker to begin with, and so forth.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. And then it started to affect my business because he started dropping the ball on a lot of projects that we were working on. And then that became tough on our relationship. And I started to challenge him. Like, I look back and I look at the conversations and the words that I used, and they weren't like harsh, but it was like, we need to figure this out. You need to get your together, like, and then he would come back with like, no, I got this, I'm fine. And so it was that almost that stereotype male stigma conversation.
Yeah.
Well, and people who have addictions problems do not like to be challenged and told what to do.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So he was a very good positioner of what was going on, and he'd always want to make his daughter, Ashley, so my niece, know that everything was fine. Mom, everything was fine. And so he did a very good job of that.
Soothe the family.
Yeah.
And those who needed.
Yeah. Then in 2018, we came together as a family, and we decided that there was time for an intervention. It was getting really bad. And he was even though he was such an outgoing person during, I guess, his healthy days, he became very recluse, and not that he didn't talk to people, but he never really had a lot of people over. So when we showed up that one Wednesday night, myself, my sister, my mom, and Ashley, it was unbelievable because we just walked into a situation that was, his house was a complete disaster. There was vodka bottles everywhere. There was tequila bottles everywhere. It smelled like smoke. There was cigarette butts, and he just started crying.
So was he like drinking all day, every day at this point? Wow.
It was one of those things that I think he would wake up planning the day of when he could drink and still conduct business. That was the crazy part. He was basically a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
And again, he hid it sort of well. We could tell that, like, on the weekends when he would drink, because he was that Facebook ranter. It was actually kind of entertaining. Like, honestly, I'll never forget when he and you had to know him to like where he was coming from, but like he publicly called out ISIS on Facebook.
No.
And my friends would text me, he's like, oh, so his nickname was Chuck. And that's perfect for Mark. He said, oh, you got to see what Chuck posted tonight. And I'm like, I do not want to look at what he posted tonight.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of a ticket into like,
Call that
okay,
ISIS.
Way to go.
He's on
Yeah.
a weekend
Yeah,
bender
one-
here.
energy.
put your address right up there.
Yeah,
So
clever.
again, he was just really a fun guy, but you could just see the issues starting to compound and so forth. And during this time frame, I'm kind of aligning like my ducks to figure out how we're going to help him. And because you could take him to, like, after the intervention, like you could take him to the Larson house, but that was like a quick fix, so to speak, like 3-5 days. And then I said, okay, now what? And then we started having the conversations, and it was very easy to see that there was so many cracks in the system, so many processes and protocols, and that if you had money, you can get healthy immediately. So money for us wasn't really the deterrent. It was, again, finding the right place. And we looked at, I think Edgewood was one of them in Nanaimo, which was one of the most successful facilities.
And this is so you were looking for long term.
Yeah. We knew that there was an issue, and it wasn't going to be just that quick detox. It was like going to be professional help in a facility, and they would monitor it and not let him go, but go on to the next step when he was ready, or when they felt he was ready. But as this is going on, again, he started to position himself, and we kind of put cart before the horse. So my sister got involved, and she put some very good people in front of him. He started to go to AA, which I knew was a step that was down the road, but it was really our only option. And then again, he used social media as his tool to convey to people that I'm getting healthy. I'm 1 month sober. I'm 2 months sober. I'm 5 months sober.
And was he actually, or
No.
was he saying that? Okay.
Just posting that to
He was
keep up the
posting that.
appearance.
Yeah. And he would do that to appease all his immediate people, his family, and so forth. But I was the one checking in on him. And I would catch him.
Yeah.
And like it'd be middle of the afternoon, and he'd be drinking. And then again, he would just break down, and he was so sad. It was almost like he was letting me down in the ways, because I was like, there was 10 years between us.
Okay.
So being the big brother, so to speak, for so long. And he was always very proud of me. He would brag about my accomplishments to everyone. And I think that was a big factor, is that he just felt that he was letting me down. But it was inevitably, it was driving kind of a wedge, because my frustration became so evident too, because I wanted him to get healthy. I wanted my brother back.
Yeah.
And I didn't like this hole he was like spiraling into. And it just got to the point where I started separating myself. Ashley started separating herself from him.
And how old was Ashley at this time?
Late 20s.
Okay.
And then Ashley and Chris, her husband, had their first child together, Luke, which we thought would be a positive influence with Mark getting on that healthy path.
Yeah. Give him something to.
Yeah. And it was for a while. Like, obviously Mark immediately loved him in that, but he did some things that weren't helping the situation, because like Ashley and Chris live out on a ranch, and he would drive out there, but he would drive out there under the influence.
Yeah.
So that, again, caused some issues.
Yeah.
Then November hit, and so they were in November 2018, and it wasn't good. Again, we felt as a family we were stuck in a revolving door, just looking for solutions, looking for remedies for him. And where we would see some light, and then it would just kind of like, again, revert, and there was just nothing there. And it was just very frustrating. It was very sad, because I knew other people were going through the same thing. And so one weekend I was out of town on business, and my very good friend Ian, he texted me, and he says, I've been messaging with your brother, and he seems okay. And I said, oh, that's good, because they were close. And then he messaged me again later that night, and this was a Saturday night, and he was worried because of some of the words. So now like 5 hours had passed, and some of the words that Mark was using was, "I'm sorry. I'm tired."
Okay.
So like, and kind of like letting him down, like I'm letting people down and so forth. And so Ian let me know, and then the next day my mom went over there to, as moms do, to check up on him and bring him food and so forth. And she was worried because the door was locked and the dog was there, the truck was there, the TV was on, and she phoned me, and I thought in my heart that something was wrong. So I phoned the police, and I just phoned like the switchboard, and I said, "I think we have a non-responsive person. It's my brother. My mom is there out front, and I'm not sure what I should do." So they sent like, and I'm driving there, and literally when I pulled up, the police were right behind me.
Wow.
4 cars
Wow.
Okay.
with a social worker for my mom.
Yep.
And then when they all got out, the one police officer was like, he went right to me, and he basically followed me, and we wanted to follow a process to get in there and determine what was wrong.
Yep.
And this guy didn't leave my side. And I said, "Well, he does have a very beautiful dog. It's a pit bull, but he was just, again, a little big teddy bear named Storm." So we actually pushed out the window of the front window, and Storm saw me. And then I said, "Well, the back door is always open because he let Storm out." And so we went around, and while this is happening, Ian shows up just to check up on Mark. And so we're in the backyard, and Storm comes running out, and he's all happy and doing his stuff. And the police go in, and then a few minutes later, that one police officer comes out, and he says, "Darren, we have a deceased person, and we're not sure if we can determine who it is." And I said, "What does that mean?" I said, "I'll just go in and check." So at this point, I was already gone into shock.
Right.
And I really didn't. So I just kind of like dropped to my knees, and I'm just like, the first thought that went through my mind was, I have to tell my mother that my brother's gone. And it was like everything we talked about and everything we lived through that male stigma just kind of like was thrust upon me, and I just didn't know what to do. So I was just frozen. And Ian didn't know what to do. He was standing there. He just kind of like put his hand on my shoulder. And so now I have my niece, my sister, and my mom all like kind of like always waiting for my brother to walk out and with me. And it never happened. So having to go tell my mom, and then her to just to collapse into my arms was like, it's just a day that I'll never forget. And I just didn't, I don't know, I look back at it daily, and not that I in a way that I'm like, I shoulder it or anything. It's just like kind of like the why and the how and the understanding of it. And then to tell your family that your brother's committed suicide and he's gone, and just, we didn't really understand the pain that he was in and the why, because he had like so much to live for, and you convey that to them on an ongoing basis. But so we got through Christmas. I immediately thought I had to be the glue for my family. I was the only guy left.
Yeah.
The only man left. But during that process into Christmas and into January, I forgot to grieve. I forgot to process it. I was just like a complete stone.
Hey friends, you know what I love most about the weather warming up? Walking out the door in the morning to school drop-off in a spring maxi dress. No more bundling up. It's time for sunny skies and cute dresses. Am I right? I recently did a closet clean out, and I am in need of a few key pieces for spring and summer. And you guys, I found so many fun options at Pretty Little Pieces boutiques online shop. You can find Pretty Little Pieces' physical store in Warman, so you can take a trip there to shop in person too. But I spent some time shopping online, and I just have to tell you guys the current options in my cart, okay? I found a great basic crop tank in like this super sweet little lavender color, a jumpsuit that looks buttery soft. Like, fun fact, I love a jumpsuit situation, a fun denim top with these cute puffy cap sleeves that kind of reminds me of something cute Erica would wear, and a cute floral midi dress. And I am going to use the code NEW10 to save 10% at checkout, which you can too. And you guys, shipping is also free on orders over $150. Pretty Little Pieces is a local and women-owned boutique, which we love, and you are going to find a ton of cute, on-trend, quality pieces at affordable prices. Find them on Instagram at shopplpboutique and shop all the latest styles online at shopplpboutique.ca. And remember to use the code NEW10 to save online. We have all this info linked in the show notes for you guys too.
So I went away. I went to visit one of my best friends out west. Ian came with me. It was the best thing I could have done because it just let me just release and reflect and think about what just happened in the last 2 months. And the one thing that I kept thinking about, I'm like, our system is so broken.
Yes.
We had nowhere to put him. There was just really no chance of him getting healthy. And the thing is, he didn't fight it. He admitted it. Like, he was very emotional about it, and the effort was there for the most part. And then I started to kind of divert away from the addiction side of it, and I started looking at the depression side, the mental health side of it, and doing my own research and education. And then I determined, I said, the big factor here was the depression. It wasn't the alcohol.
The depression that was fueled by the alcohol.
Exactly. And it started to make sense to me now that the depression was so intense that it basically started making decisions for him. It was just like taking over his conscious thoughts and decision making. And I said, it makes sense now that it wasn't really him making the decision. It was this horrible disease. And then the light dissipates, the pain is so strong, and then you just think as a person that I just can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. I imagine you want the pain to stop,
yeah,
and the intrusive thoughts to stop.
Exactly, because it's
suffocated.
It's on a constant basis. Like you go to bed thinking about it. Like, it's like I couldn't even imagine like what his sleep looked like and so forth in his day to day.
And just the heaviness that was constantly on him. And just to go back quickly, when you guys did the intervention, was he willing to take the next steps right then and there, and the next steps just weren't available?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He did, like I mentioned, he didn't fight it. He was, I think he felt more embarrassed by it, that he let down his family. Mm-hmm. But he was willing to meet with people, and he did go to AA meetings, and he did meet with Wendy, who is a reformed alcoholic and now a counselor and an advisor in the mental health field, and she was wonderful with him. Mm-hmm. But he positioned it. It wasn't real. It wasn't authentic. He just wanted his family to feel that everything was going to be okay.
He's putting on a show.
Yeah. So when I was away, the way my brain works was, I'm like, I need to fix this. I need to bring more awareness to this situation. I need to start having conversations. So I said, I'm going to build a brand. I'm going to have a message, and I'm going to have conversations. And the one thought was, I know now that with this depression, this disease, that we're incapable of loving our own minds. Mm. So that's where the Love My Mind came from. And then my design team, they started designing it and kept coming up with the keywords and the headings and slogans and so forth. And we built this cool design, and now what?
And now here we are.
Legit.
So
I'm
do
like,
you? So we have this, and now what do we do? Was the first thought like, okay, because you went straight to design, was it like, okay, let's we're going to build this brand, we're going to have people wearing this, we're going to donate some of the proceeds, or what did that piece look like?
Yeah, so the design of the brand was actually pretty intense. Like, so when you look at the first one, was actually in lower caps was mind with a 3/4 heart,
Okay.
and the mind was actually a gradient. It went from white to dark.
Oh.
And the darkness was the one that was embraced by the heart.
Yeah.
So once I explained it to people, that was like my thoughts throughout was like, once the darkness hits, are we capable of loving that darkness or loving our mind?
Ooh.
And then I took Mark's signature and we superimposed every letter in the alphabet, and that became the Love My Mind script, which a lot of people don't know about. So
That's amazing.
yeah, like on a lot of our apparel, which came almost a year later, we tag it with that script, which is basically Mark's handwriting.
Wow.
Just before I was going to launch the Love My Mind brand, on the business side, Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary was doing a Canadian tour to talk about entrepreneurship and basically pay back his campaign expenses, because when he was in politics.
Oh, right.
And of course, Kevin just wanted to write a check to the government. They're just like, no, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
So his stop in Saskatoon, his handler got in touch with us, and we were actually the marketing company behind his stop. And in these stops, Kevin would pick a beneficiary to donate percentage of the ticket sales back to. And his handler says, well, Darren just started a mental health initiative, so I want to talk to him. He's actually a pretty good guy.
I think he puts on a bit of a show.
He puts on a huge show.
Yeah.
Well, it's TV.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
produced, which people forget.
So he's the perfect villain in that
sure.
sense. So,
Yes.
His first comment to me was, he lost his best friend to suicide.
Mm.
So he wants to get behind this, and then had a great dinner with Kevin, and then he went home, and we just kind of waited to see what the donation amount was, and in the meantime, it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What does this look like? And before we get the donation amount, here's the other cool thing that happened. Like when you talk about a life-changing timeline, so I just lost my brother, and then one of my best friends, who I've known since the Pat days, she's like, sends me a text message, and she's like, hey, are you still single? I'm like, yeah, and I am not in the dating mode. These online dating apps drove me crazy. It was like,
imagine.
I'm like, yeah. Well, I have the perfect girl for you. And I said, oh, really? So she goes, and she said to me, she's a wonderful girl that is going through am I allowed to swear on this?
Yes.
A shitty situation, married to a complete narcissist.
Mm.
And she just wants to go out and like have a conversation with a good guy. And she goes, so I thought about you. And I'm like, aw.
I'm the good guy.
She goes, I'll send you a picture. So she sends me a picture. She's absolutely stunning. And I'm like, gulp.
Now I'm intimidated.
So we did go out a couple weeks later, and our first date was 4.5 hours long.
Mm.
And it was a very open and honest conversation. Like, she told her story. I told what happened with me with losing Mark and Dad. And it was just like an immediate friendship, like a strong friendship. And from there, it just continued forward. She has kids, which I never have, but I love kids, and I always wanted. It just didn't work out that way. And we just kept seeing each other. And the one thing I liked about, there was no agenda.
Mm-hmm.
There's no script. It was very real and very natural. So she was a huge support behind what Love My Mind was going to be. And then we got that message back to Kevin. We got that message 2 months later. And Ashley, my niece, who is in accounting by trade, and she was like, well, I figure that you might donate about $5,000 to us. And then we get this text from Danny, his handler, and it was a $30,000 donation.
Wow.
And I was in a boardroom. I was in a presentation with thank goodness, with people I knew. And I just I saw it. I dropped my phone and I just started bawling.
Oh.
And I'm like, this is happening. This is I still don't really know what I thought about. But then when I collected myself and I'm like, oh, now we have to do something.
Yes.
Now we have this kickstart financial, this blessing, and sat down with Krista, and it's you need to use your network. You need to use your business network and your connecting skills, and start building a team, building a community of mental health advocates and professionals and corporate partners and so forth. And so I started doing that. And then we had our first speaking engagement, literally just after it. I was with high school with their wellness day, and they asked me to come speak at it.
Amazing.
And without really realizing it, I found myself very in my own struggle.
Okay.
That what I was attempting to do was basically fix everything by myself, and didn't realize it.
Okay.
And there was a couple occasions where I was starting to get very emotional and very disconnected from my family and Krista and so forth. And I literally found myself kind of going down that tunnel, spiraling, and I could almost see myself where my brother was. And not that I was having thoughts of suicide about myself. I really positioned myself in his boots and his shoes, what he was going through and what his mindset was. And I was it was a very eerie situation. It was almost like I stepped out of my being and was put into his being.
And this whole time, were you navigating your grief, or were you still okay, now I have this foundation, we got to get the wheels turning? And was that kind of happening alongside you navigating your grief, or were you finding you were putting your grief on hold?
That's exactly what happened, is I never did
You still had it.
grieve properly. And that weekend, it was absolutely beautiful. It was like the weather we're having now. And I was going to golf with my friends in the afternoon, and I was thinking about this event and thinking about what Love My Mind was going to do. And I totally forgot to grieve the loss of my brother, because I just kept, even though I went out west and came back, it was just it was a succession plan. There was no stopping. Mm-hmm. And so again, for me, the male stigma was really evident, and I wasn't prepared or willing to deal with it on the subconscious. I was just going crazy, trying to save the world.
Right.
And that Sunday morning, it was as clear as day still. It was beautiful. I was being very domesticated in my house, Swiffering my hardwood floors.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. Doing laundry.
Paint the picture.
Yeah. And I just collapsed. I went to my knees and I was sobbing. Sobbing that I've never, the emotion that was coming out, I didn't understand. It was just I was almost hysterical and
animalistic.
Yeah. Called Krista. She goes, I'll be right over. And she must have she just held me for probably what seemed like 2 hours and just talked me through it. Once I collected myself, she just said, here's the way it's going to go. I saw this coming. I need you. I need you for a long time yet. You're not a counselor, nor will you ever will be. Mm-hmm. But one thing you are is a business connector. You're a networker. You have a vision. You do what you do best, and go get the people that are going to do it alongside you. You're not speaking next week. And this is the way it's going to look. So she just basically laid it all out. And I said, yeah, I'll take care of it next week. She goes, no, you're going to take care of it now. Yeah. Before you go to that golf course, you're going to call these people and say exactly what's happening. So I did. And it was just like the world like just released itself from my shoulders. And it was a very big turning point, not only for Love My Mind, but more so for me. It's just being able to be okay with it and almost looking at it now that my brother chose not to use his words. Even though I know he wanted to, he chose not to use his support systems. Even though I know he wanted to, and this Love My Mind was going to be his legacy and it's going to be his voice to help people that are struggling, because that's ultimately what he wanted, because he always wanted to help everyone, and he did help everyone. And from that point forward, it has been the most amazing journey, the last 4 years. We now have mental health professional partners. I think we have close to 60
wow.
in the Love My Mind family. And we have, I can't even begin to comment on our corporate partners that just donated and just, how can I help? And that was the dialogue, was how can I help? How can I help? What can we do? And I knew exactly then what Love My Mind was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a brand that had a message. We were going to offer support. We were going to offer financial support to those needing treatment that couldn't afford it. We were going to speak, not only myself, but all my partners. We were going to help with new projects and smaller initiatives, and just help people that wanted to get into mental health space grow and start their own private practice. And it worked. We just used, again, all those connections and all those networks. So with that said, and you girls will love this one. So I had a little bit of apparel, and our tagline, I think, was self, mind, love. So again, it kind of was are we capable of loving our own minds? So it did well, but it was a very warm network of people that bought it and supported it, and it was good. And it was cool. It was comfy and that. And then that November, Krista and Tara were saying, we need to pick up the Love My Mind trendiness a bit. We're going to come up with some cool stuff that people are going to want to buy.
Eric is over there being like, yes.
Let's hear it for the ladies.
So, and that was the other thing, is that, and this applies in business too, is that whether it's a mental health brand or in business, is like the leaders, the founders, the CEOs, whatever, we all hear about how you have to surround yourself with great people, work smart, not hard. But when you do that, let them do their thing. Put your ego aside, leave it at the door, and let them go, because that's what they're there for. Mm-hmm. So I did. I let them go. And they said, we need to have something that's going to resonate with people. Yeah. And it's going to be words. And the first word we picked was gratitude. Mm. We put it on these independent, really comfy hoodies. We used the Love My Mind script, and we just put it in a box, and we put it on the cool colors. And Krista says, I'm going to give the first one. We're going to get this thing going to Shauna Foster.
Oh, yeah. Smart move.
Yeah, there you go.
She knew.
Shauna puts it on one morning, and I swear to God, on my computers, our online store, which was built for free from our own team with their marketing company, and they just said, no, we're going to just do it. And she posted at 4:30 in the morning, which she always does.
Yeah.
And this thing went through the roof. I said, we don't have the inventory. And now, because now people are buying, they're buying for Christmas, and now they're asking hey, can we pick other words and other colors? hey, can we co-brand on this? Like business owners, it just went insane. So from November to Christmas, we sold $28,000 worth of hoodies.
Holy shit. And that is influencer marketing.
For everyone listening.
And
There's the play.
a good product.
Exactly.
And a good product.
Yeah.
Married together.
On the right person.
It was
On
a
the right
good product.
person.
It was beautiful colors.
Yes.
It was a simple design.
Yes.
Using words that
Mattered.
and in this, that mattered. And in this case, it was, and like the other women just like grasped onto it. And that was the thing, is like, we all know that women will talk about this much easier than men.
Yeah.
Still to this day. And so, not that we're sitting and targeting the women, but again, working smart, not hard. We need to utilize these amazing women to help build this brand for us. Yeah, so this design just evolved, and we had people going through their own shit for the next couple of years, and we'd reach out to them and say, we're sorry that you're going through this, and we would like to create your own hoodie for you and your family. So they'd pick like yellow and positivity and coral and serenity and that, and they would just go, and then they actually would start selling it on their own. So these little sub-brand pods just started appearing, and it was actually, it's still amazing to see, like we send these hoodies all over the world. And then Tara, it's like, I'm going to do bracelets. And we're going to use the same words with the same colors on these bracelets. So she came up with like coral and kind and intention and gratitude. And we would just kind of like package this together. And the bracelets went off the cuff too. So we created this, and that would raise money too.
Yeah.
So we donate a lot. Like last Christmas to Crisis Intervention, YWCA, Prairie Harm, and Sanctum, which is these ladies are amazing. So Sanctum deals with young mums. We donated over $10,000 worth of hoodies to these people because it's winter and it's cold and they don't have anything to wear.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. It's Erica. So as you probably know by now, I'm a happy mom of 3 to a boy, girl, boy situation. They're amazing. I love them. Maybe they'll hear this. Hi, guys. Something we've noticed with our youngest, though, is his speech. He is so sweet, and people are often saying how cute he sounds. But we've noticed that he has a bit of a lisp going on. And while we know it's adorable right now, we want him to be set up for the future so that people can actually understand him as he heads into kindergarten. This is where It's a Speech thing comes in. It was a no-brainer for me that I was going to call this crew to help me with Theo's speech. It's a Speech thing is owned by Kirsten Cito, who takes a fun and empowering approach to speech language pathology and offers support in a way that is easily accessible, which is so freaking important. It's a Speech thing offers a customized solution for children and adults who need support with speech, language, and communication. I love that they take a family-centered approach and include the parents so we can truly support our children with implementing new skills at home. At the end of every session, Kirsten and I always have a little debrief to go over how Nick and I can actually support our son at home. I love this because we don't just have to rely on our sessions every single time. We can take that homework and develop Theo as we go. What we found really amazing is the children's speech therapy is geared to engage children of all ages through play-based interactions. So Theo is always having fun and learning at the same time. I swear the first thing he says when we either go into the room or we pop up on Zoom is, "Can we play a game?" Kirsten will also work in collaboration with the other professionals involved in your child's life to really provide a comprehensive and integrated approach to speech and language development across all settings. Talk about community, you guys. It's a Speech thing sessions can be booked in person in both Saskatoon and Calgary and throughout all of Saskatchewan and Alberta through online sessions. That's actually what we typically do because we live outside of the city and it's been so easy to do. Head to itsaspeechthing.com. That's ITSASPEECHTHING, spelt exactly as it sounds, .com. To learn more and get a free consultation, yes, free consultation with Kirsten, follow along on Instagram at It's a Speech Thing Inc. We're linking it all in the show notes for you guys so you can easily find it and connect.
And they loved the fact that they had these fun colors and they were cozy and they had these words on them and that. So our next project was actually we used the word, it was a connect project, and we partnered with Waniskewen with the gift shops, and we actually used they picked their own 5 words. We used t-shirts and hoodies again, and we created kind of this was more of our college font brand that we created. So we did these 5 words in English, and we did the 5 words in Cree, and we put it into all the gift shops, the 3, and all the money that was raised and is continued to be raised goes to the Indigenous communities to help them with their mental health. And I don't know the exact number, so to speak, but it's we're definitely into the many of thousands of dollars raised, because their initial order was massive, and so they continue to sell it. It's been a big hit. The cool thing about how everything intertwines now is like Mark's apparel and promotional company, beside the fact, had the worst business name ever.
What was it?
I'm not even going to talk about it.
It's like,
so
We're all going to Google it now.
like you'd think, like,
print your
'cause
sweaters here.
Mark Anderson, Chuck, his nickname, and that. It was like APA promotional. I'm like, what does APA stand for? And he didn't even like really give me an answer. And I'm like, and these are
pick numbers and letters.
We battled all the time. The entertainment value was like epic. So like when he used to come to Bailey's on Friday happy hours and put all his drinks on my tab.
Of course, like a brother would.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't pay for it anyways. It's a write-off.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. Like, this went on for years. Like, I'm thinking, like, since the Pat and Bailey's had cut, you're probably over the $50,000 mark.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he would leave his business cards everywhere. And the thing is that he was a horrible businessman.
Yeah.
And he would actually admit that if he was here. But people loved him.
Yeah.
And when you talk about branding,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of times in branding, it's not what you're selling. It's
The people.
you.
It's
you.
the
well,
people.
we tell people in our business all the time, like, you know, we'll talk to someone and we'll say, you're not selling a sweater, you're selling a feeling.
Yes.
Exactly.
So
Yes. You're selling a
you better be
memory.
selling a good feeling.
You're selling the emotional connection. You're creating and selling an emotional connection.
100%. So, and this made my mom very happy, not only with Love My Mind, but we rebranded Mark's company and named it Market Promotional.
Clever.
There we
And
go.
we laterally moved it over
Yeah.
under the AMG umbrella.
Yeah. there we go.
You're like,
it.
There it
You're like,
is.
There it is.
you couldn't have seen this.
You're
You're like,
welcome.
we fixed
Yeah.
it for you.
And I always there are times that I actually do. It's funny when you just to regress for a bit is when they go through loss, there's these indicators, the dimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when I was in my old house, because me and Krista bought a house together last year, I had this beautiful like window right by the sink in the kitchen, and I'd always look out, and I would look kind of like to the southwest, which was always, for some reason, no matter what the day, it just seemed brighter. Like even if it was fully cloudy out, I would look and there was just be this little like, almost like the hole or this light or this. And I'm like, and I always thought like that was Dad and Mark. And I would talk to it.
Yeah.
So that one day when we rebranded to Market, I'm like, and I could just see this, like the smoke coming out of his ears and like shaking his fist at me. And,
Oh, that's
And like,
amazing.
it's APA or nothing.
exactly. You little bastard.
Stop it.
Yeah. So we would have interesting conversations looking out to the southwest.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing is that everything is now intertwined because Market basically does all the apparel and it supports Love My Mind. And so we actually have a kind of a new design coming out in the next couple weeks, of which I have 3 gifts for you.
Oh,
Get out.
We get presents?
And it gets better. They're not, I don't have them with me
And
today.
you're taking us to
And you want one.
They're hoodies and they're all in that color. And it's basically just, again, it's words. I got the vision from a farmer down in Texas.
Okay.
So it's just words and everything ends with mental health. So in this case, it's love, laugh, and mental health. In a cool, trendy font on
so
that color.
nice.
So when you walked in today, you were like, I'm on brand.
You're like,
And
this is going to
you can thank
work.
Tara
Thank you,
because
Tara.
Tara's like, and I didn't even know the name of that color. She goes, "This is the trending color, Darren, for 2023."
It's like Barbie pink.
And
Yeah.
she said, "Your girls, like on her podcast, this is what they wear."
And then you walk in and you're like,
And I'm like, now I know. This is like, and I'm like, I'm gonna get hoodies for these girls.
You're unreal. That's
Anyways,
so kind.
so-
Thank you.
It'll give me another reason to come by and visit in a couple weeks. So
yes.
I was wondering if you have off the top of your head any kind of like stats or anything that we don't understand. Like, and again, I think you spoke to even males in mental health and not being able to talk about it. And that was your background, like any kind of statistics.
yeah, and that's a good point. Like, because stats,
I just think they're really impactful.
yeah,
People hear
they
them
are
and go,
impactful,
oh,
especially
okay.
in the mental health.
Yes.
I'm going to give you like, and again, this is more or less coming right from
Yep.
from us, and what I get is even going back like this, not this past winter, the winter before, with Love My Mind, we would get people 4 or 5 times a month reaching out, and it was like for support or to collaborate or so forth. And I banged the bong.
You're
that's
okay.
you're fine.
You're okay.
And of course, we would help them. Fast forward a year, now we get 10 to 12 a week.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, we want to help, we want to help, we want to help.
So when people are reaching out to Love My Mind for support, what supports are available?
So with the support side, and again, incorporating stats in my answer, is that it's usually moms,
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Saying my child needs help.
My child needs help. My brother needs help. My uncle needs help. My husband needs help. And these stories are deep.
Yeah.
And because of the trust they show in Love My Mind, and probably because they've seen my story and heard my story, they trust Darren.
Yeah.
Not just Love My Mind, then they want to tell me their story.
Yeah.
So that's big because I will always listen, but I got to watch because it's a lot. And then after they tell me what's going on in their life, I'm like thinking of which partners would be best for this situation.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I will give them 3 of our partners to contact. I obviously let the partners know that so-and-so is going to contact you. This is the situation. We don't know the financial aspect of it. So there's a big discovery that goes on. Then I will always say to the mom, like, okay, so this is great, but what about you?
Yeah.
Who's helping you? Because you're the caregiver in this situation. So we need your mental health to be in a good place as well. And a lot of times it's like, I never even thought about it.
I was just going to say.
Because like moms are so, that's a whole different discussion. Moms are just like,
I'm like, what do you mean us?
Yeah.
There's no
So-
doubt.
We do.
then they make the connection with their partners, and either our partners or even the moms. Like the first time, and again, these are things that I'll never forget, is her daughter was having suicidal thoughts and just like not in a good place. And 2 months later, the mom messaged me and said, "Thank you. You saved our lives."
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how to react to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I called her. It wasn't a text conversation anymore. And she told me how everything was going great, how she feels better, how her daughter's like kind of come out from her bedroom and she's healthy and she's vibrant again and she's like hanging out with her friends and she's doing good in school. And it's just, and I said to Krista, I said, if we don't do another thing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because we just did that one thing.
Yeah.
And we really focus now on youth because, like again, stats, like it might even be worse now. It's 1 in 2 in Canada.
Wow.
Like
For mental health?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
And there's a couple ads running about, and again, the response is like, I'm fine. I'm okay. I got this. And these kids, we're losing kids to suicide.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've lost, again, going back a year, we heard of maybe a half a dozen, which is a half a dozen too many, in our community, all male. 2 were kids under the age of 22, losing them to suicide. Fast forward to this past winter, 45.
Oh my God.
Wow.
40 were men, 5 were women.
Wow.
And I'm continuously having conversations with our mental health partners. We've got 2 or 3 that just kind of got into the game 18 months ago, and they were saying, like, I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I don't know if we're going to get busy. I said, this is why we're here, because of our network.
Buckle up.
I said, that's what I said. I said, hold on to your gotch, because this shit's going to get real in about 2 months.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is crazy. So now that aspect has grown. So we will support our partners as well, financially, and obviously just with the mentorship.
Yep.
On the business side. But the conversations we have with them, I'm not gonna lie, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, and the media still does a very poor job of conveying what's going out there, just strictly in our communities. We need to be present. We need to help people one-on-one, but we need to convey to the masses as well. And we just have such a great community now. And again, it's like the networking between us and us sharing your stuff and you sharing our stuff and just working together and pushing forward together. We will make a difference, whether the government's involved or not. Mm-hmm. And believe me, the government knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. They see what's happening. And I personally had Scott Moe like a year and a half ago said, Darren, you need to keep doing what you're doing because it's wonderful. And eventually we'll get our shit together.
Yeah.
And, but it doesn't happen overnight. It can't happen overnight. We know that there's a need out there and there's a homeless crisis. There is like people that on a daily basis that just dealing with anxiety. Like I've dealt with it for 13 years. It's a killer. Like it's horrible.
It is. It's all encompassing sometimes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like it can shut you down.
Yeah.
So I'm selfish here and I'm like, what do we do? Like people who are listening are listeners and they're like fired up hearing this 1 and 2 stat. They're like, what do I do? Like what are some tangible steps for people to take?
And that's been kind of the common thread lately is that what can we do? What not only so as a person struggling, you have to use your support systems. And if you don't have them, find your tribe, so to speak. Utilize the people around you. You have to utilize these people in whatever capacity. And that's what we forget to do. My brother did not do that. Mm-hmm. He had a massive support system and he chose not to. And I think that was an integral part of what happened.
And I think by having these conversations openly and making it a part of like our everyday life openly, it makes it easier for people to lean into the people that they have. But for somebody who feels completely alone and doesn't have a support system, where can they start?
And unfortunately that is more often than not.
Yeah.
They feel isolated.
They do
and
feel
alone.
isolated, and people are searching. And this has been the issue in mental health, is that when you search mental health versus like Cancer Society or Heart and Stroke or even Alzheimer's, it's not that easy. And a lot of times you're getting the crisis lines, which those people are inundated. And again, what happens a lot of times with that immediacy is that you're going to get put on a list, or you're going to get rechanneled, and like nothing happens.
Yeah.
The one thing we've been able to do with Love My Mind, when you do reach out, you get an immediate conversation, unfortunately with me, the non-counselor, but I will listen.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's the listening is key. Not listening and already thinking about what I'm going to say to them. It's like listening, truly listening. And that's what we as people, I think in general, have to be better at.
Yes, agreed.
I can honestly look back at the loss of my brother now. And this is the thing, is that with trauma, don't let it run the rest of your life. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Fight it. And I can honestly look back 4 years later now that the loss of my brother, in a way, is a blessing for what we're doing with mental health, but even like what it's done for me as a person, like to have these conversations and let other males know that it's okay to cry. And it's okay to have these tough conversations. So there's so much good that is happening because of those conversations and these connections. And it's still heartbreaking, like, to see what's going on, but there's just so many good people doing so much good in our community.
I'm also curious, because of the position that you've been in losing your brother to suicide, if someone is walking alongside someone who has lost someone to suicide or is going through grief, you know, what would be a way that we can show up and support someone who is grieving or has lost someone?
And that's the support side is a big thing. One of our most favorite partners is Healing to the Max, Jill Cowan. She's the founder, and it's actually made up of other moms that have suffered loss to their kids. Jill's son was Maxwell, and he was 15, 16. Athlete, lots of friends, academics, like he, again, checking all the boxes. But the one thing Maxwell did is that he actually went to his parents and talked about the suicidal thoughts and the problems that he was having. So good conversations were happening. The bad thing was when the family approached for support, they were put on a list. Well, unfortunately, Maxwell took his own life while waiting on that list. And 2 weeks after he took his life, the parents were contacted by the organization saying, "We can see him now." She goes, "Well, my son's dead. He took his own life 2 weeks ago." That is all they do, is offer support. They have programs and online, in person, and these people are amazing. So if there's anyone out there that has suffered loss, especially on this with regards to suicide, that would be my first direction. And the other thing that we're talking about more and more on the addiction side and the mental health side and the suicide side of things is the preventative aspect. And like now, like when people are in it or dealing with it, like how far along are they? Like how deep into the tunnel are they? And can we reach them and get to them earlier and be the preventative side so we can get them on a better path earlier? So in those three topics, that's been talked about more and more. Is Chelsea and Barb have started a program on the addiction side that it's dealing with at-risk people. It's on the preventative side. Let's get you healthy before it gets too deep.
Right.
And I think this is starting to occur more on the depression side and on the suicide. Suicide's tough though, because my brother had the red flags. There's a lot of people. Let's look at Twitch from the Ellen show,
Yeah.
there was no red flags.
That was just heard around the world.
And that one still resonates with me the most, especially after I see the videos of him dancing with his family and his kids and his wife. And I'm like, this makes zero sense to me.
Yeah.
And then, losing these kids. Like, I couldn't even imagine being a child growing up in today's age with all the social media and YouTube and TikTok. And
it's a lot of pressure.
it is a lot of pressure. So conversations are tough between the child and the parents. But when the parent does get that opportunity, it's not like, I'm sorry that happened at school today. Tomorrow will be better. The conversation has to be like, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand what you're going through. And I'm here to talk, like, make sure that they feel heard versus like the Band-Aid, so to speak.
Yeah, we don't have to fix it in the moment.
No.
I think as humans, that's all we want at the end of the day, is to be seen and to be heard.
Yes.
Right? And if we can actually meet those two basic needs within inside of someone, we could stop a lot of these issues and problems. But we don't stop to listen, to hear others, and or stop to see them.
100%. And I had my own little rant a couple weeks ago on truly listening.
Lean into it.
And that in whatever the circumstance or the occasion or the conversation, what it pertains to, is that, are we truly listening to what is being said, whether it's a business meeting, someone talking about their mental health, or a parent talking to a child? Is that, are we really present in that conversation? Or again, are we just like already going through our mind what we're going to respond, how we're going to respond? Well, that's not truly listening. Mm-mm. So nothing's getting resolved. Mm-hmm. You're probably compounding the situation more than adding a remedy to the situation. So as people, we need to start listening, like truly listening in our day-to-day.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's a really great piece of advice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time. So I'm going to ask our wrap-up question, which is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Wow. Like, being a good listener is not far off from that. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to be one. The listening thing is big. Like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The last 4 years of my life with Krista has been the continued conversations. Because without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. And these conversations have many different levels, many different emotions, and that they happen on a constant basis. That's the key.
Yeah.
So from an advice standpoint is continue to have conversations and make sure that they're real as possible. So,
can you tell the community where they can find you and how they can work with Love My Mind?
yes, so you can go to our new website, which is lovemymind.ca. And what we did is we created more of a resource portal. So the online store is there. You can donate on there. And we are actually starting our fundraising campaigns because we have so many cool projects starting up and launching our new fun swag and that. Yeah. But again, it's not always about the money, but we use our money very strategically when it's donated for new projects, new initiatives. And those sometimes don't appear until like the 11th hour because again, there's no real script to mental health and when the need is there. All of our resource partners are on there, so you can contact them directly.
Amazing.
All our support broadcasts are on there. So that's probably the best way to get in hold of us, because then our email and our phone numbers are there, and then you understand the story, and you understand really, you get the education behind it and the information needed. So the website is the best place to go.
Well, and can I ask, are some of the resources going to be like province-wide, Canadian-wide?
We
both a mix.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like we're not going to. Originally, it's like, let's help our community, Saskatoon, and we're all in Saskatchewan and that. But, there are no borders. We actually have a Love My Mind chapter in Alberta.
Amazing.
Great.
Yeah, 4 sisters that lost their father to suicide back in 2004. have kind of taken our vision and our message and created their own, and it's Love My Mind Alberta, and they're but yeah, it doesn't stop. Like, I know our counselors have actually helped people in the States because they just couldn't find resources.
Yeah.
So if anything we're doing right is we're eliminating the wait list, and we're getting people in front of the right people immediately. And that's been the key, because we know we're saving lives because of it. Well, we've been told we're saving lives. So
yeah. That's the biggest pain point, is the wait list.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Or one of the biggest pain points. So thank you so much for what you do, and for coming on and for sharing your story. I think everyone needs to go follow Love Your Mind on social media as well.
Yeah.
We can find you there.
Yeah, at Love My Mind YXE. Then you get to talk to Krista and Tara, and they're a lot more fun than I am.
We'll have them on next.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. This was awesome. And you know what? I have to say that I love what the three of you are doing, because it's authentic. It's real. And I know that you truly care about what you're doing. And I love that you get to the shit parts of it, but you also have fun doing it. You keep it like, so like, I don't know. You guys are pretty cool.
Thank you.
We'll always take a compliment.
Absolutely. You're so kind. Thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Her Podcast. If you want to follow along with us, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at its.her.podcast. We can't wait to see you there.
Bye.
Bye. Adios.